I watched the entire game. I'm not sure exactly why I did it, but I was watching it with my oldest son, and we're just sitting there kind of just like befuddled.
You didn't think that they were going to be able to pull it together.
Oh, no,
you knew.
Well, no.
Weren't they down 30 at one point?
Here's when I knew that all hope was lost. I think his name is Chris McCulloch play.
Yeah.
I saw him come into the game, and I saw Tim Frazier playing.
Yeah.
Once
Tim Frazier he didn't play much because he got ejected.
Once I saw that combination, I said, all hope is lost. I mean, there's just no. Well, this is Scotty Brooks emptying out the bench.
Yeah, well, he's trying to find something, and apparently he lit into the team afterwards, which
as he should have.
He should.
What did he say?
Well, he said he's going to find guys. He's going to have to find guys. Like, who's going to do it? Who's going to compete?
Well,
and if you look at the starters,
there's only so many guys you can play.
If you look at the starters, I mean, Gortat in 20 minutes gave him nothing.
Otto did nothing last night either.
Otto did nothing, and Markieff did nothing. And we had Scotty on early this week. I think it was on Tuesday, and he said when they got hot last year, went on that run, Markieff was the key ingredient to it. He said like 18 to 20 points a night.
Do you know how many games in a row they've given up 100 points now?
I think it's 15 or 16.
16 games.
And look, if you get blown out by one of the premier teams in the league, I can stomach that. The Hornets are 8 games below 500.
Right.
Yeah. Kemba Walker looked like Isaiah Thomas from the 80s in that game.
They had given up 100. They had given up 100 points in the third quarter.
Yes, I understand that. Yeah. And if you look at the last 4 games, 2 wins, but less than impressive wins against Brooklyn and Orlando.
Orlando game they almost lost. I watched a game.
Yeah. And Brooklyn they had a 23-point lead, close. And then they ended up having to win that one in overtime. So if you just look at the last 4 games, they're allowing 117 points per game, and that's coming off the heels. Okay, he lit into them last night. He lit into them after the Utah game, which was a week ago.
He lights into them all the time.
After the Utah game, he talked about the fact that they gave up 61 points in the second half. Well, as you mentioned, 61 points in the second half, he was upset.
Yeah.
He's like, how do we give up 61 points in half? They give up 77.
We should be profiting from this, by the way. I don't know why. Why aren't we pooling our money and betting the overs every game the Wiz play?
Let's do it.
All they do is play
But
overs.
there's 2 things that jump out at me about this team, and you mentioned Markieff Morris. I just compared the numbers from last year to this year, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago. Every starter's numbers are down. Every one of them. Yeah. Except for Otto Porter, believe it or not. Now, Otto is trying to get there because
surprising,
the last 8 games have been abysmal.
Missing in action.
But John Wall, his scoring is down. His shooting percentage is down 3%. Bradley Beal making this big Panda All-Star game push, and maybe deserves to get into the All-Star game. His scoring is slightly up. Shooting percentage down 2%. Three-point percentage down 4%. But then the reports are Mark Morris, who last year averaged 14 points per game, almost 7 rebounds. This year he's 9.9 and 5.4. Way down scoring, way down rebounding. Gortat, last year was a double-double guy. This year, 9 and 8. And you mentioned it last night. Their starting front court combined for 8 points.
Yeah, it's bad. And I don't know what's wrong with Otto. Otto should be more consistent than what he is.
He had some hip issues, so maybe it's an injury.
All right, well, you know what? Then play Oubre. Start Oubre over him.
Well, here's
my personal theory. Yeah. My personal theory on Otto is he is a reliant player.
Yep.
I was not for re-signing him because, to me, he's kind of a dime a dozen player. I know he shot fantastic last year, but he's a reliant player in that he pretty much floats around the three-point line. He needs John to set him up. And particularly the last 10 games, I know that I think it was John, maybe it was Brad, that kind of alluded to guys playing for their stats. To me, the guys playing for their stats are the 2 stars in Bradley Beal and John Wall. Look at their shot attempts the last 10 games.
Well, what are they supposed to do? Nobody else can score.
I get it, but they are pounding the ball more, playing iso ball, and not involving the other guys as much. So I almost don't blame
I don't know if they're playing for stats. I just feel like they have to go out there and put up 30.
Well, I will say this for John.
Because Gortat's going to do nothing, Keith's going to do nothing, and lately Otto's going to do nothing.
I will say this for John. I love John. I've said many, many times, you're bored of hearing me saying I love what he embodies and represents for this town. He's everything. I saw a play last night, though, where he flat out gave up on the play in the middle of the play. And when you see things like that, so he gets
all the time.
He gets stripped he got stripped from behind, and then started chasing the guy back, and then at half court just stopped running.
No,
just gave up on the play.
Yeah.
No. That's what he does. He wants to talk about himself being the best shot of all time, and maybe he is. That's what he does.
But that's it. By the way, that's a gimmick. That's a gimmick.
Right. That's 2 plays a game. Because on the ball, he's a horrible defender. If you watch him on the ball, usually when they play opposing point guards, he doesn't even guard the opposing point guard.
Right.
And you see opposing point guards like Ricky Rubio have season highs against them on the regular because on the ball,
but that's
he's
fine.
The furthest
That's
thing
fine.
from
If
the
you're
glove.
a bad defender, you're a bad defender. You have a gimmick move. Fine. What I didn't like was he gave up on the play at half court. He just stopped.
I told you there was a game where he started messing with his wristband or whatever he had there. I don't know what he has. And the guy just slides right around him and gets a rebound, and he's just a foul.
I think you could see what Scotty did toward late, right? So all of a sudden, Jason Smith started playing. And listen, he's a great defender. But they've had success with him. Yeah, he's going to give you effort. I would play him. I would play Oubre more, obviously. And Mike Scott. We've talked about Mike Scott all year.
I think you have to start Oubre. But here's what Coach Scott Brooks said.
I think you got to start Scott and Oubre.
You might have to.
I bet you that's what he does.
That might be
guarantee.
The case in the next game.
But I would play Jason Smith, too. I'd keep him in a rotation.
When
He's
he
an
talks
effort
about
guy.
the shake-up, finding guys, I bet you Scott's going to be one and Oubre's going to be